Okay, welcome everybody to our webinar. I am very excited about this webinar. So over the years, I've done quite a lot of them. This one will be special, really special, partly because I'm joined by two really special and awesome guests, but also it's one of those times when my events that I organise has become completely interweaved with my own personal story. So tonight we are going to be talking about Dragon's Back FKTs, and yes, I am very excited about it. Before I get going, just a little bit of admin. So first of all, welcome. The rough running order for the evening will be some Q&A and some chat between myself, Trish and Bridget, being supported by my colleague Liv. If for some reason, and it happened at our last webinar, the internet dies, whoever is left standing will carry on running the webinar. Last time it was me that disappeared. If you have any questions for us, please drop them into the Q&A. We'd love to hear whatever you've got to ask. And Liv will collate those questions as we go through, and then we'll spend roughly the last third of the webinar going through questions from the audience. I think that's about everything. So I'm going to just recap a little bit of history before we get going here. So the first FKT was my own. That was in August 2024, 102 hours and 33 minutes with every possible bit of support and help you could possibly throw at it with a huge team. The following year, July 25, Bridget went at the Dragon's Back with no support on the hill and just her husband supporting her at the kind of road crossings. I can remember that final day swapping some messages with Bridget as she was coming into Cardiff and willing her along and watching that tracker. She finished in 102 hours and 40 minutes. That's just 7 minutes slower than me. And I was just so impressed. And I was really impressed by the way Bridget had taken that FKT concept and stepped it up another level. She had gone without the support on the hill, and it's a different challenge. It's just a different challenge. It's harder, and I think Bridget did it better style than I did. And then the story continues. Only, what is it, 6 weeks ago, December 2025, Trish Patterson completed the Dragon's Back in 107 hours and 12 minutes. Like Bridget, she was solo on the hill with a support team by the road, but she's done it in frigging winter. And we know how horrible those hills are in Wales during the winter. And yet again, here's another, inspiring, experienced, awesome woman who's taken that FKT concept and stepped it forward again. So goodness me, the gauntlet has been laid down for the boys, I think. And hopefully we'll see some more FKT action in the future. I hear rumours and many people considering it. So that was a very long introduction. Trish, welcome to our webinar. Bridget, welcome to our webinar. Maybe Bridget, I can start you off with looking back. I guess it's it's about 6-8 months now. How does it feel in your mind when you reflect back?
Well, actually, when I was looking at the map for Trish running down through the whole of Wales, it's already reached the point where you look at the map and you think, how can anybody do that? And then you think, oh, I've done it. And it's really odd to think I was there, I did the training, and I was in the moment and completed it. The excitement of it all hasn't gone at all. Haven't been back to Wales yet, and I'm desperate to get back to Wales. So it's just such a phenomenal thing to do, and it's just amazing to be able to say I wanted to do it and I went out and did it.
Amazing. Trish, how you seem to have recovered well, is what I hear.
Yeah, I've recovered really, really well, which is surprising because normally I do a big event and I get really badly injured and then need to recover for 2 or 3 months. But I came off the Winter Dragon and I did nothing for about 2 weeks, absolutely nothing other than eat. And I've come back really, really strong. Like I've got a bit of a cold at the moment, really, really strong. But other than that, I feel good, like I'm running well. So yeah, I mean, other than knocks and scrapes, I did get knocked about a lot. I did have a lot of falls, and that's expected in winter, but they were all kind of superficial. There wasn't anything serious, so there was nothing that after 3 weeks I was pretty fine physically. So yeah, I was really surprised by that, and also just lucky. A lot of it's luck at the end of the day. There are a few occasions where I could have had some bad injuries, but things worked out. I was lucky. So luck plays a big part in it as well.
Yeah, always, always. So I'm gonna try not to talk a bit about myself other than to give a little bit of context. But when I came up with this idea myself of running the Dragon's Back race as a race organizer, I'd watched my friends, contemporaries, peers racing the event over many, many years and basically secretly harbored this desire to do the event myself. And I guess the secret sauce to AREA events is I design events that I would like to do. It's no more complicated than that. So of course, naturally, I would want to do the Dragon's Back race. That's not really practical as the race organizer. And slowly this idea kind of formed in my mind about running it in my own way. And it fulfilled every, possible expectation I had. But maybe Bridget, we can ask you first. What was your motivation? Why do it? It's such a big thing to want to do.
Yes, it was actually, I did the race and would have never thought of doing it in a one, but for watching your video. I came to I came to Kendal and watched it, and it blew me away that you could do it. And then to be honest, I kind of thought, well, I could try that then. Anybody could try it. And I think I can do it. And it's the moment when you start talking, I think I can do it, that you've already signed up to do it, haven't you? Once it's lodged in the brain, you want to be able to say you've done it. And then it was, I took how you looked, Shane, to be honest, on the video, and I thought, well, maybe I can do it my own style and I can do it better. So that was a high motivating factor. And that's a bit naughty to say that, I suppose.
No, you did it better.
But I think it's good to put it down and put your own style on it as well. And yeah, I mean, it was in my mind, can I do it? Because I am a bit of an older athlete now, and I went out and proved that, yeah, I'm 54 and I was able to go and do it. But having done the training, you know yourself, you can do it. It's just whether, like you say, Trish, just something happen, like an injury or the weather or something that is seriously going to stop you going forwards. It's whether that was going to crop up, I suppose.
And Trish, same question to you. How on earth did you come up with the idea of doing it in winter? I'm going to say it again, in winter.
First of all, I should say, Bridget, I can't believe you're 54. You are absolutely awesome. What an absolute legend you are. Wow.
Thank you.
Amazing. I think for me, I always knew I'd do it in winter. I was never going to do it in summer. And I think I wanted to be in those conditions. That was key for me. I knew I was going to do Dragon's Back in some way. After my race, I didn't have a great race, and again, I was just unlucky. Sometimes you're unlucky racing. But I knew I wasn't. The whole purpose of me being in the race was I run for a very, I would say, very organic, very internal reasons. I'm not really motivated by like podium places, I would say. So I wanted the experience really, and I wanted winter conditions to do it in a hard way, just to test myself really, and to see what I was made of. I've got a pretty good idea of like who I am, I think, and my levels, my skill set, and who I am. But I just wanted to really test that, and to really put myself at the edge of my comfort zone. And see how I did. And so when I did it in winter, I mean, it was everything that I wanted it to be. It was hard, it was difficult, it was isolating, but that was the test for me. That was what I was there for. It was very intrinsic.
Wonderful. So
Do
we've
you
actually.
feel, sorry, I was just
Go
going
for
to
it,
ask, do
Liv. No,
you
you
feel
go,
like
Liv.
you actually reached the edge of your comfort zone? Or do you feel like you could have gone even further?
I think I could have pushed a bit further. It's always very difficult to say, like in the moment in particular, but I definitely feel like there's more to go. I definitely feel I can maybe dig a bit, I can dig a bit deeper, I can suffer a bit more. Um, it it's funny, isn't it? Because you always get to, I think, a level, and then you go in retrospect, I could have done a bit more. And and 100%, like Shane and Bridget, I'm sure you have thought that retrospectively, like, could I have shaved off 20 minutes here, or did I really need that sleep on the last night? That kind of thing. So I definitely think there's scope for that, and I find that really, really interesting. I think that my primary drive is curiosity, and there's so many things that made me curious about the Dragon's Back in winter. Just any kind of experience. Like, how far can you push mentally? What's the stopping point for you when you want to quit? Can you maintain your focus? Those are all things that I find really fascinating, and I really felt that I was able to get to a good level of understanding and almost experimenting with those feelings, and as I went through the event.
It was certainly an experience to witness it, let's just say. So for those who don't know, I was part of Trish's support team, meeting her up at the road, and I've got a lot of stories I could tell, but this will be Trish's night to share some of her stories. I think what I will do, we've actually got a couple of photos and actually some videos as well from Trish's, and I think I'm going to share some of Bridget's photos and ask Bridget to kind of talk us through kind of those moments, because these, I don't think anyone will have seen these. They're kind of like private collection type photos. So let me just share my screen. So let's try and do this without breaking anything. So please tell me that that's working, and I'm going to put Bridget's photos up.
Yeah.
Bridget, why don't you talk us through what's happening in these 4 photos?
Okay, so the first photograph is literally a 5-minute snooze, which just restores the body back to how you want it to feel. But I'm actually sat in the car park at Mahuncliffe, and I'd come in off the hill, and it was all set up for me to have breakfast. And you can just see the edge of the van. So my husband hired a plain old transit van. There was no comfort in there. There was just a camping mat and a sleeping bag in the bag, and we just threw the boxes in, or Mark threw the boxes in at the end of every leg. And here I sat down. He said, "Right, what do you want for breakfast?" And I said, "Oh, I'd love a fried egg." And Mark said, "I don't want to fry you an egg. Can you have something else?" So I think it was the first of the pots of the rice pudding. Now, had I had a fried egg, we would have found out the gas was running a bit low at that point, but that's the story for another day. And this 5-minute snooze was just fantastic. So that's Mahuncliffe. So we had to then go back in time for the second photograph, when I'd just come off the hill and run into near Dolgethley, and it's the Mordag estuary. He was really good at picking places to put the van where I'd have a gorgeous view, and it was really nice. It was a peaceful evening. Just behind the van there's a plum tree, and everyone was walking through the car park saying, "Oh, do you want some plums? Do you want some plums?" And I was like, no, I'm eating my tea. And it's my first experience of a tin of minced meat and onions and some instant smash, and boy did it go down well. Honestly, it's food for athletes. It was just fantastic, and we were overlooking the estuary. And I think Mark expected me to stay a little bit longer, but I ate the tea and then said, right, time to head off. And I just headed off up to Cadair Idris. So that was the first of the peaceful, beautiful stops. We'll skip the next photograph because I think we all know where that is. And then the last photograph is, I took it in, I think you get a feeling as you're going along that oh my God, I'm going slow. People will be looking at the tracker thinking, why is she going slow? It's not hilly. And I thought, well, this is a picture of what the paths can be like on the Dragon's Back race. And this is the path. And you look at the grass and you think, well, I mean, apart from the fence, which was joy in itself, that I knew I was in the right place, the undergrowth was just overgrown, and you're stumbling through. And I suppose it's in these areas you don't mind falling in that place because it's going to be soft. And I think that picture's taken just after you cross a little stream and you kind of slither down the banking, and it's kind of like, oh, my legs are tired, but oh, I'm having a mini sit down. And it's one of those visions of a lot of tiredness, a lot of hard work in that flipping undergrowth. And also at this point, because you're so isolated, and I don't think you've got any signal on your phone there, a little twisted ankle could mean it's all over. So it was just going back to, quite a few issues that were going on in my mind at the time. And then if we slip back a photograph to me outside Cardiff Castle, I just finished. I think there's another photograph where I've got my arms up going, yay. And it's not your usual picture of Cardiff Castle. I was so happy to get there. But there was a flipping concert going on in the castle. And this is a picture of me on my own, but just near the gates of Cardiff Castle, there are thousands of people going to see a pop concert that was going on. So the joy of finishing was so immense. But it was such a personal, private moment because I was so in the way of everybody wearing not much clothing going into this pop concert and for their evening out. And it was just wonderful. But all that's going through my mind at that moment is, I want to sit down. I just needed to sit down. But it was great. There was just Mark waiting, and it was just a wonderful, nice time.
Excellent. I'm gonna share some pictures from Trish's FKT. So Trish, do you want to talk us through these? They're kind of very different moments within your journey.
So the first one, starting from the left, is me at the end. So I've just finished. The guys have kind of shuffled me back to the van. I've got a bottle of Prosecco just to dampen the pain before and wash down the painkillers. And that felt, actually, I think you can already start to see my legs swelling and my feet starting to swell on that photo. Either that or they're just really fat at that moment. But yeah, that was finishing was absolutely amazing. And on the far right, that's me finishing at the castle. We nearly actually didn't take that photo. I can't remember who took it. I think maybe Zoe insisted that we take a photo. I was like, okay. Lucky she did. But yeah, finishing was great. I mean, it just felt fantastic. I mean, you're pushing that entire day, and I remember my feet were, well, not my feet, my toes. I had a toenail that was like sticking up, and that was causing a lot of pain. That one's coming off soon. But it was super painful, and I remember having to like really kind of force the running that whole day, force the running, and it was just really tough. So finishing felt fantastic, but then the pain is coming not much longer after you stop. So I did have that in the back of my mind. And then the center picture is obviously the A team. It was 100% a team effort. I absolutely could not have done that without a fantastic team around me. And, I mean, I often thought, Bridget did it with just her husband, and it's a tough deal crewing. It's super, super hard. I was really lucky to have such a well-experienced, incredible team around me who 100% made it happen. It was just a fantastic experience to do with my friends, and to endure all of that, but have them beside me.
Amazing. I've got some videos, but I think I'm going to come back to those in a moment, and I'll just jump back into normal webinar mode. Bridget and Trish, I'd like to just delve into the big difference between my FKT and yours, and that's just being alone on the mountains. And maybe we'll ask Bridget first, kind of how that experience was for you, and maybe the highs and lows of it. And I know when we've chatted in the past, you talked about kind of that sense of seriousness when you're in the Brecon Beacons towards the end. And but perhaps you could just share some of your insights around that solo experience.
Yeah, I think going solo, I felt comfortable with the idea of it because I trained so much in the mountains, and I am always a tease in the mountains. But when you think about the enormity, I was really conscious of being safe, and I really didn't want to have to call the mountain rescue because they would think you were stupid doing this on your own, especially at night time. So it was a big issue. But generally, so I felt quite positive, but there was the time at the Brecon Beacons was the worst period of weather overall, and I was getting really tired, and I think it was 10 o'clock when I set off from the Story Arms up to do the main Brecon Beacons, like the plateau as I call it, and as I'd sat in the van just before setting off, it steadily started to rain harder and harder, and the darkness had descended, and it's like, okay. And Mark looked at me and said, "Come back to me safely." And it was just like, farewell. and and then off I trotted. So I felt fine. But then as you're going up, you've got your head torch on, the rain's coming, it's always coming at your face. I mean, it probably isn't actually coming at your face, but it's coming towards your head torch. And no matter whether you wear it on your head or you held it in your hand, you can't see that far ahead of you. And we were talking about that just before, Trish. And it was murky and it was raining hard. And I remember at one stage thinking, should I put my over trousers on? I thought, no, I think I'm warm enough. And you're having this little conversation in your head. So you're always judging, am I moving enough, quickly enough? Am I wearing enough? And I knew just to go slow and steady, slow and steady. But I remember visualizing where I was at the summits because it was so poor visibility. You couldn't recognize the summit. You couldn't go, oh, there's the summit, I'll run over to it. You remember, oh, there's stony bits here, there's stony bits here. And I remember passing someone sleeping in a tent up there on such a horrendous night, thinking, I'm safe because if anything goes wrong, the tent's there. And then about 20 minutes later, I'm thinking, I'm too far away from the tent now. That moment has passed. And then I was running down a hill. And I was looking at the sheep, and then I went, oh, and this pony went, "Ugh," and I'd nearly run into the backside of a pony, and I just hadn't seen it. It was just grim, and lots of grimness happened. And I remember I've got the GPX on my watch. I know the route. I've got the OS app on open, and I remember having to spend so long trying to find the goddamn trod off. You hit the pepper pots, and it's like, where's the trod off to the side? I've left the big pass behind, and that took me ages, but I was so sure to get it right. And then I hit the pepper pot before you descend down into the valley again, and I'd forgotten there was a pepper pot there. So I was like, I've done 300. I've done 180-degree turn round, and I was thought, no, I've gone the wrong way, and I nearly started running back the way I'd come. And something, thank God, the sleep deprivation wasn't that bad. And I thought, check your map, check the map. I thought, this is the descent. At that point, I might have had a hallucination, but I don't know. But I saw something, but then I just ran off. So that whole time seemed to go on. I just seemed to go on for ages, and I was acutely aware. Actually, yes, because in the Brecon Beacons, you've got big wide pass, but then you turn, and then you've got that steep side down to your left. And it was just, I must have gone agonizingly slowly, but it was just, do not fall, do not stumble, do not cock up, and get back to Mark safely. So that it really. Thank God it was warm. It just felt like it was taking forever. Then as I got down to the bottom, and I thought, you're kind of like, woohoo, I'm safe. And it really was. It was major to think you're descending to safety. And then you hit the bracken at the bottom. It's like going through a blimmin' car wash. So you might be safe, but you're just absolutely drenched head to toe with this moisture off the ferns. And then another point of safety, I then come across some hillbillies camping wild in the woods in a flipping teepee. And they've put the guy line across the path. And like you're inching forward, you've got to slowly inch these very tired thighs over this blimmin' guy line so you don't twang the tent so they come out at you. And then I had to go through more ferns before I got to the road. So yeah, that was my experience of the Brecon Beacons. You've just reawakened the stuff of nightmares tonight.
I can tell from the way you're describing it just how like visceral that experience still is within your mind. It's quite
Oh,
amazing.
yeah. Do you know, I crept into Vanny DeVito. Mark said, just get in the tent. And I said, I'm traumatized. So I crept in the van, put Mark's sleeping bag over me because it's nicer than mine. And I thought, I just thought, do not think about what you've just been through. Just put it behind you and move forwards. So it was a good trick actually, because there was no point worrying about it anymore.
Yeah.
I was back in the van, and I just had another 40 miles to do.
So this is a great moment to kind of follow up with Trish, because Bridget's now down in the valley, the Talabont Valley, where Camp 5 is for Dragon's Back. And I think you had a pretty tough journey getting to that point as well, Trish. And again, talk us through that experience of being alone in the mountains. Something.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I went over the Brecons, over Penny Fan, and sort of day 5, the weather. It wasn't too wet. Like, it had rained, but when I went up over Penny Fan, it wasn't like bad rain. It was like, it was rain on top, but not bad rain. But it was super claggy, super claggy. The clag was so thick. I got up to the top of Penny Fan, and I couldn't see the Trig. And it's massive, isn't it? It's absolutely huge up there. It's like, it's, you could practically walk into it. And I remember I had to do boxing, in Mapbury, when you box down an area to find the Trig. And that's crazy, isn't it? Because it's huge, but it was so thick. I could barely see what was in front of me. And I wanted to make sure I hit it. But anyway, the clag was horrific. And I remember that journey was just a case of switching my brain off completely. And most of the time I wasn't too sure exactly where I was. I was just had a rough idea. And I know that path. I know that last bit so incredibly well. Like I do think I was able to run because I knew it so well. Like, I didn't actually have to physically see anything. But it was so claggy. I couldn't see anything for pretty much all of it. I got down to the last bit of day 5, and that's bad in the summer, isn't it? Like, that bit's bad in the summer. It was absolutely horrific in winter. It was like wading. It was so boggy. It was wading and fighting through like trees, and it was just a nightmare, absolute nightmare. So boggy, and you couldn't see a line or anything either, so you just kind of had to force your way through it. And then got to the bottom of that, and I was really looking forward to seeing my crew, who are going to look after me and take care of me and call me in and nurture me. And I was slightly delirious, I think, at this point, because I was so like focused in on what I was doing in map reading. So I kind of popped out at that road, and what I saw was like Robin and Shane's van. So I but there was no one there, which is really strange. So I kind of like banged on the door, like, let me in. And there was nothing. Like, banged again, let me in. And I just heard this like, hello. And immediately thought, man, like, I've woken. They wouldn't have said that. Why would they say hello? They'd just open the door and let me in, right? And then I just thought, man, I've like totally Blair Witched some poor innocent person in a van that looks similar. Like, they're going to think I'm an absolute psycho. There's an absolute psycho outside, and probably call the police and freak out. So I then got it in my head that Robin and I maybe had another conversation, that they were somewhere else. So I then pegged it down the road, like as fast as I could, all of like 20-minute miling. And and then I must have got about half a mile down the road, and I heard this, wait. And by this point, at this point area, that it can be a little bit dodgy around there, because people go and park up and and camp out there and stuff, and it can be a bit of a dodgy area. Anyway, so I kind of switched my light off, because I was like, right, that's it. Switch my light off. They can't see me, so if they come at me, I can like sidestep and wimble. It'd be totally fine. And this person comes up to me with their torch, and I'm like, who are you? And it's like, and this person's like, it's Shane. We're back there. Had to go back up the hill, didn't I? Had to go back up half a mile. I'm pretty sure it was a delay tactic, but you know, we won't bring it up. It's totally fine. It's totally fine.
All I can say is this story just gets better and better every time I hear it.
To be fair, I feel it's good payback and it's good karma, because when I crewed Shane on the Ark, he might have come across our crewing position with Robin and I sat in the car, not just having a brew, but eating his crew biscuits. So, you know, it's kind of come back to hit me. But that was the only minor thing. I did often think, actually, because I'm very good at switching my brain off, so I don't think about it when I'm out there in the moment. I'm not really thinking, I'm just switch my brain off. Like, did you guys do that with your brain, or were you very actively, what was going on in your heads? Was it noisy or was it quiet?
Good question. Bridget, why didn't you answer?
It switched about a bit. Mostly it was the quiet. When you're enjoying yourself in the hills, I don't play music or anything, and I did wonder, how are you going to manage all that time with nothing? And the brain switches off. I think it's the perfect way to relax from work. I think I thought about work for the first, usually it's about 3 or 4 hours, and then after that you just think, oh, look at that mouse hole, oh, look at that spider. And it's just the simple things. And yeah, that's good. And then you have, I talk to myself quite a lot in my head, like you interview yourself, well, now I'm doing this, and that amuses me for quite a while. And I sing. I think I started singing around Cadder area, and generally it's always the same songs. And unfortunately, I got 2 earworms from Greatest Hits Radio. So one was they're from like the 80s. It's I can't remember who. So it's a really cheesy song, and like singing 2 lines from a song for 4 days for 102 hours was quite it was quite tough, I could tell you. It was about a star. I'm going to make you a star by David Essex. There you go. And every time in the night when I saw a star, it just started all over again. Yeah, so it's a perfect way to relax, if you ask me.
I would say that I had a noisy head and I didn't find the kind of rhythm and flow that I was hoping to find. And I think I was troubleshooting too many things that some of which I had anticipated, but I thought I had a plan for, and other things that I just hadn't anticipated. And I also had, because I had support with me, and it was 2 or 3 people for every leg, I just talked to my friends, and that was actually, I think on reflection, it wasn't optimal for performance, but it was brilliant for experience. And I just had such a good time chatting to friends and reminiscing and being cajoled and bullied by them. And you know, I wouldn't change a thing. And that's actually, on reflection now, you know, 18 months later, the thing that is the most precious and treasured memory of the whole thing. And actually, when my low points, knowing that I was meeting, you know, friends X and Y at the next changeover was really motivating, because it's like, I'm going to keep going because I want to spend the next like 4 hours, 5 hours with these friends. It's going to be brilliant. And that was much more helpful than I had anticipated. Right. In fact, I think Bridget, Trish asking the questions are good. Why don't you ask Trish a question?
Well, I'm curious. So mine turned into time becomes irrelevant, and is it daylight? Is it nighttime? How did you notice the nights passing, or did you have any experiences around that twilight time, or when the day's dawning, or you know, that sort of change in the daylight?
Yeah, I don't really. The first day you remember, because it's so fresh, isn't it? And then I think you move almost into this like existential state, where you're just existing through. And for me, it was very it just seemed to happen so quickly as well. Like sometimes sometimes everything moved slow, but I would say the vast majority of the time it felt like it moved quite quick. And I do think that's because I was able to switch my brain off so well. And that might seem a bit strange, but like there was times when I would say almost wake up along the trail, and I couldn't remember the last half an hour. But obviously I'd been moving consistently through that. It's interesting, isn't it? For me, I don't really. The last day I remember in terms of that daylight, and the last day I specifically remember the morning, because I really suffered the first getting out. As Shane can confirm, I really suffered getting out of the van. It wasn't didn't want to get out the van. I was totally okay with that, but I wasn't very. I lost kind of communication skills, and I also found, because it was quite cold, and as you progress in these kind of like big long expeditionary type ultras, you tend to lose the ability to regulate your temperature. I don't know if you found that, but I was unable to really hold my temperature really well unless I was consistently moving. So when I stopped, my temperature obviously plummeted, and then I'd get up to go again, and when they would open the van, I'd get hit with this like cold air, and it was almost like it would send my body into this kind of like cold shock. Yeah, I was like, don't put me out there. I didn't say that. I don't think I said that. I didn't say that, did I, Shane? Oh, thank God, embarrassing.
Just to like add another perspective to this, when you've got one of your best mates kind of sat there shivering, kind of essentially uncontrollably and no longer seeming to have the ability to talk to you, and they've run 200 kilometers and you're pushing them out the door and saying, that way south, 1 foot in front of the other, see you in 4 hours. It's pretty hard.
Yeah, and I do think that was really tough. I mean, we do put ourselves in these, like your husband's sending you off over the hill. I mean, he must have been hugely concerned, and it's scary, isn't it? It's because it's scary stuff. Like, the reality is, as much as we love these places and they are amazing, and we are confident, capable individuals, the bottom line is it's dangerous. Like, it is. You go up on the hill, anything can happen. You're in spots where there's no signal. The reality is mountain rescue isn't getting to you anytime quickly. So when it goes wrong, it can really go wrong. So there's huge risk up there. But
on
at the
that
same
basis,
time,
how did you find Crib Goch? Because I think it was okay weather, it was you got across just in daylight, didn't you?
Yeah, I had the first day was really good, really great weather, great conditions. And then just as I was coming over, the Glidders, just as I was coming over the Glidders, and then you could see Crib Goch as you come over, and I could see the weather coming in. I could feel the pressure change as well, and it was just this like rain cloud and cloud kind of coming in, and it was crazy because it went from being actually quite a lovely day to like rain and a bit windy quite quickly, like within 20 minutes. So yeah, when I started going up there, people were coming down, and I'm not great on Crib Goch anyway. I get really bad vertigo. so I mean, it's fine. I've got like tools to kind of work through it and get through it. But mentally, I think that was probably, I knew that would probably be one of the hardest bits for me, because I had to really dial in and focus. And then as I got to Crib Goch, obviously it was like raining, it was windy. So I really had to focus in on just getting across, and that felt slow. I was really slow on that. But, it's, you just have to do it one time, right? You just have to do it one time. So I just did each step one time, and that's it. It was done.
Sorry, Bridget, you were going to say something, I think.
No, I was just going to say, in the middle of Crib Goch, so you do the first bit, and then you start running in the middle of it, and then it all starts again. And
Yeah,
you didn't forget that it was going to start again, did you? Because your
I
heart
knew.
sinks.
I knew I wanted to do the bit, do it a bit faster, that middle bit, but then it was really claggy. It was really, really claggy. So couldn't even actually see where the best kind of line was to go through it, because it was so claggy going through. But then once I came down, and it was dark as well, as I came down over the pipeline bit, that was dark. And yeah, that was I mean, again, in summer that's wet and tough going. In winter, it was absolutely savage. It was just, yeah, super, super mucky. I slid down. I probably slipped and fell most of it. Just slipped and fell down. But yeah, it was interesting for sure. But again, you're so focused in, aren't you, on what you're doing? It all kind of the knocks and the bruises and the falls, and like you talked about, with the hillbillies. Once you've done it, there's no point focusing on it again. Your only choice is to move forward and to look forward and to continue doing that. So everything that's happened is irrelevant prior, I think.
I think maybe this is a good moment just to jump to one of the videos that I've got of Trish. So I think, bear in mind that this is a video of some poor weather in the valley, kind of leading to Camp 4, day 4, Dragon's Back. This is in the valley, low down, and you'll get a sense of the wind and the rain. And I think when, like Bridget was talking about the weather on the Brecon Beacons, it was something similar to this that you were probably kind of experiencing. So let me just find the right video. I think it's this one. Yeah, I'm hoping that's popped up for everybody, so I'm going to play it now.
That is the living legend, Trish Patterson, about to finish off day 4 at Dragon's Back, the long, notorious road down kind of past Glenbrian Reservoir. The weather, as you can tell, is pretty fucking miserable, and Trish has been completely nailing it. You'll get a sense of how quickly she's moving in a minute. Given how little sleep she's had, it's amazing, and she's doing it on her own. She's doing it in winter. What a superstar! Come on, Trish!
That was some rough weather, wasn't it?
I love how the raindrop is like massive steroids on the photograph. It's that big a drop.
It was so hard.
You
the
okay?
rain.
Cool, you're not far now. What's that? Don't worry, you're nearly there. 10 minutes, you're done, going to bed. Jump. Yep.
Right, I'll stop sharing that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like you said, the rain, when it comes, it does feel like it's in your face, and it's like needles, isn't it? It's just like needles smashing you in the face consistently. I had, after a fact, actually, about a week, not even a week, like a few days after I'd finished the Winter Dragons, pretty much my face fell off. Like it just peeled off. It was horrific. I looked almost like some bearded man because I had like skin that was like coming down my chin and stuff. It was super gross. Like I'd done some kind of polar exped or something.
I think Shane might have frozen just for a sec there. I'm sure it's probably the computers. Yeah, it's doing too much at the moment. I'm just wondering, like, how do you think the sleep deprivation really affected you guys? You were obviously doing really long days, lots at night, particularly for you, Trish. How do you think that affected your decision making? You both have talked about navigation and the fact that it is really dangerous. How did you manage that, or how did you see it affecting you?
Yeah, I mean, I made the decision to do 90 minutes of sleep a night. How much sleep did you do, Bridget? Did you do rough? What did you do roughly?
I think I did about 8 hours overall.
Yeah.
And yeah, I went on the basis of if you have a plan, you won't stick to it. So
Yeah.
I think Mark had the best plan for me, and he said you're allowed to sleep, and then he woke me up, and then I carried on. So I played it totally by ear.
Yeah, I mean, I stuck to 90 minutes because I knew I knew 90 minutes works for me. So for a start, I had prior experience of sleep deprivation and what's good and what isn't. But for me, one of the primary reasons to get some actual sleep every night was the fact that it was so dark and it was dangerous, and if you're like there's in the dark, you really are confined to a little piece of like a little world, a tiny little world. So you can't see the trod, or you can't see, not being able to see the trod or the line is so difficult to navigate, and especially like on the first couple of days, and even in the Brecons, like it's really hard when you can't see the trod, and even in the day, like you see on Bridget's photo of day 4, you can't see the path, right? And that's the day. So I think sleep was really critical to being able to focus on when I needed to be able to do and make right decisions when I needed to. But also I think it's important to get that balance so you can maintain momentum, so you can keep the pace. If you're too tired, you'll get to a critical point where you can't really maintain your effort anymore. And I think probably like Shane, that's some great videos of you sleep deprived and hallucinating when you've just got, I remember there's that one of you where you're just looking at that sign for ages in Cardiff. And that you'd get to a point where you are so sleep deprived you just can't maintain any enough momentum in your movement. But I mean, again, Bridget and I had the experience of watching Shane, so you learn a lot from other people's mistakes, and that's how it is. That's how I was very fortunate that Shane gave me lots and lots of advice, and I was very fortunate that Bridget also shared great tips and advice from hers. So you learn as you go on and you pass that stuff forward.
I'll second that. Shane was very helpful and generous with the advice, which some of his advice was crucial to me succeeding, I think, to be honest. I'll credit you there for sure.
Thank you.
But I wanted to ask you, Trish, do you think having had sleep deprivation previously means that having the experience means you can cope better next time because you know what it's about?
Yeah, I definitely think it helps. Like I've had a lot of sleep deprivation. So I think just knowing what to expect, but also there are key moments, like for example, like sleepwalking. I did a lot of sleepwalking, and sometimes that like is quite dangerous. But also I know my brain. I mean, it sounds really like a bit airy fairy, but I trust my body and my brain to make a good decisions for me, and I know that my brain will switch off on the points where it's comfortable or it knows I can do it. Or I assume it does. I mean, I might be giving my brain a lot more credit than it's due here.
Remember the luck thing you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, 100%. But I think that sleep definitely, if you've got experience of it definitely helps, because you know what to expect, you know what that feeling's like. But the worst thing I think is the key thing is when it's getting to that critical state. So when you feel sleep like really clawing at you, I mean, sleep deprivation is so hard. I mean, talk to guys who do the spine and stuff. The sleep deprivation is what absolutely destroys them. So it definitely helps, I think, if you've got that experience before going into it. I think if I'd gone into the winter FKT and not had that experience, it would have been a completely different event, a different experience. Did you have much sleep depth experience, Bridget, when you did it?
No, that's the first time I've gone through that. I mean, it was the first time. I remember Shane in the film saying it's the first time I'd passed 100 miles, 200 miles, and that's the same for me as well. So it was my first experience of all that, and I had never gone through any sleep deprivation. I didn't know what to expect, and with hindsight, I mean, it's easy with hindsight, but I wonder if I could have shaved a few more hours off. But it is still a very satisfying feeling, and I was still extremely tired. It'd be interesting, because next time when I go through it, it'll probably feel very different. Just confidence really helps, doesn't it, when you know you can survive it.
And having your strategy in place as well. So I learned a lot from you and Shane in terms of where I would have my first sleep. So I chose to have my first sleep at the day 2 support point. And I basically made that decision off what I thought I could do myself, but it was, again, a lot of it was based on the fact and how you and Shane had performed and what points you'd got to during on that time, etc. So that was really critical for me, learning from both of your performances. Really critical for me.
Yeah, I stopped at the end of at Nangwinant and
Yeah.
couldn't sleep. I wasn't tired enough.
Yeah,
So
I remember you saying.
and that's when I thought I should have laid down maybe, because your legs throb after that awful descent down there.
Yeah.
And I wanted my legs to recover for the rest of the race. I mean, I remember Dave Parrish, who won last year on the actual race, he said, I've still got the tiredness in my legs from that last descent. And I needed to recover from that, but I could have done that by sitting down and then setting off again. And I think it was getting used to being in the dark on my own that made me want to just hang back a little bit longer as well on that. But then ironically, I worked out I was better sleeping in the day than I was sleeping at night, because I didn't like that waking up in the dark and having to go out into the dark. It was much better just to let the dark descend and the dark then lift for morning and sleep in daytime hours, which doesn't make any sense at all, but I prefer that a lot.
Yeah, it worked for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's super interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fascinating.
It's like avoiding that, when you're getting up with like the Alpine start, get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Nobody likes
Yeah.
getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Nobody likes getting up at 6 o'clock when it's time for work in the morning. And I was just taking that to the maximum, I think.
Yeah. How many hours do you think you got, Shane?
I
Should I say hour?
no, I did. I think I did 3 90-minute sleeps ish, plus some 5-minute trail napping, and I think if I was to do it all again, I would sleep more, and I think I would consequently go faster overall. I think the key thing for me was I had a schedule which became unrealistic and unachievable, but I didn't change the sleeping strategy, which was still anchored to finishing 30 hours faster than I ended up finishing. So it was, and it seems like ludicrous to describe that now, but at the time, I had a support team. Nobody said anything. We just were still trying to execute a plan that had gone out the window about 2 days before.
Obviously, Shane, you had you were the first person to do it, so you didn't have any FKTs to show you the way. How did you kind of come up with your strategy or plan to begin with?
It's funny. So I mean, first of all, every year I get out on the Dragon's Back course with participants and recce groups and with friends, and so I've always maintained that familiarity with the route. When I decided I wanted to have a go as an FKT that year, I spent a lot of time on the course, and my friend Zoe Murphy was also doing Dragon's Back that year, so we just spent a lot of time recceing the route and with lots of other mutual friends. So it was just a total pleasure and joy doing that. I came out of a schedule, and actually my first draft of the schedule, which I just did kind of intuitively, and I essentially based it off what the slowest people at Dragon's Back do on the hill. And I thought if you were going non-stop, you'd end up in roughly that kind of state. And that was about 100 hours. And then I shared that with lots of running friends, and they just laughed me out the park. They're like, of course you're not going to be that slow. You're going to be loads faster. And quite late in the day, I changed it to 70 hours, because that's what all my friends who had the expertise and experience of doing these long 200-mile plus races.
That was not me, by the way. I did not say. I said stick to your schedule.
Anyhow, it turned out the schedule was actually pretty accurate. And so I guess there's reasons why the plan didn't work, and that's a whole nother story. But ultimately, the plan came from lots of time recceing the route and a little bit of basic Excel, and you come up with a schedule, and you start filling in the gaps.
I think the other thing is worth saying as well is you absolutely could have taken, that the performance the time that you had on your FKT wasn't what your performance potential is. Sometimes you're just unlucky with stuff and it doesn't quite work out the way. And I think you are definitely way more capable of taking many hours off that time. It just didn't quite work out that week, and also you were the first person to do it, the first time you'd run over 100 miles. Those are all the first time you had extreme sleep deprivation. Those are all big factors to consider when you first do something.
I think what really helped me personally in advance, I came up with a list of like 3 priorities for my FKT. First one was to have a good time and to be nice, and I've been supported other runners when they get all prima donna-y and a little bit grumpy on when they're tired, and I just thought I just don't want to be that person. So be nice, have a good time, and enjoy the company of my friends. That was goal number 1. Goal number 2 was completion. Whatever, just don't stop. So both those were like absolutely nailed. 100% got that. Goal number 3 was the performance one. Well, that didn't work, but you have your highs and lows. I honestly wouldn't change a thing. So,
but also, if you hadn't done that, Shane, would it have inspired Bridget? Would it have inspired and helped me so much? The fact that you did do it, regardless of how it actually turned out, was really critical to both of our efforts. I would say your FKT was absolutely critical to my effort and my ability to do it. So thank you for taking that hit for the team.
Absolutely.
And
yeah, I was going to say, watching the video was the only inspiration really that set me off thinking, yeah, let's give it a go.
Well, it was like absolute privilege to meet up with Bridget in Kendal a couple of weeks after you'd finished, and we just did not draw breath for a couple of hours as we dissected our Dragon's Back experiences. And then again, to have the opportunity to be there to support Trish, just amazing. It was like one of the best weeks of my life.
Yeah, I mean, it was so funny. I mean, the proper core memories, and that's the thing. People would go, "Are you the whole winter Dragon's Back thing? Like, it's cool." But I just had a great week with my mates, and it was doing something really hard, and that was awesome. Fantastic memories, and I wouldn't have changed that banging on the door thing for the world.
Right.
And I think it's really good that it's when you think back, it's not just the runner's story, it's the runners and the support story.
Yeah.
So
totally.
and me and Mark, we still talk about what happened, and Mark went through this and I went through this, and this was what it was like when we met up, and it brought us really closely together in a really loving way that is, it's still there now. It was a good experience. Total rose-tinted glasses about it.
Yeah.
So I think shortly I'm going to hand over to Liv, and I know there's a couple of questions I've not looked in the chat, but if you've got any questions, why don't you just think about them now? And I know in the office, Liv and I were talking about some questions we would ask Trish and Bridget anyway, so we've got some questions. But before we do that, we had another video, and I think obviously I disappeared after playing the last video, and Teams crashed on my machine. So I'm going to take a big risk, try and play another video. And this is the last 90 seconds of Trish finishing in Cardiff Castle, because I think this is a really special moment that it would be lovely to share with everybody. So taking my life in my hands, I will try and share this video. Okay, so here we go. And we're fortunate to have our social media expert, Zoe, doing the filming.
Woman is back from Conway in North Wales. Oh, this is what this woman has done. Come on, Trish. You absolute legend. Yes, lady. Go, 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 go. Keep going, buddy. All the way. Woohoo! Go on, Trish. You absolute hero, mate. Smashed it. Go on, Trish. All the way in. All the way. Woo-hoo!
I think those were just random tourists.
They were.
Yeah, it was like Christmas time.
Yeah, I love it.
That's great. We always remember to switch the watch off as soon as we get there.
Sorry, guys. Oh man.
Does that bring back all the emotion?
Yeah, it does, isn't it? I mean, it's such an extreme thing, isn't it? To go from one end of the country to the other end. It's so extreme.
How does it feel getting there and it's Christmas celebrations and there's tourists and busyness?
That felt quite nice, actually. It was a nice treat. Yeah. Although I had to do so many diversions, that was I wouldn't say it was annoying, but it was just like, and you're slightly, you're not quite all together anyway, so you feel like you're kind of wandering around a bit. There was a lot of like diversions to fight through, but we got there. It's fine. It was a nice tree at the end.
I remember on the Taff Trail, people are out for a nice walk, and I'm like, "Excuse me, hello, excuse me," and you really don't want to bother with them at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so Liv, over to you.
Yeah, so I've got a couple of questions. Shane, would you do it solo supported? I know you said you wouldn't change it for the word, but say if you did it again, would you maybe want to find that quiet bliss that you were talking about?
I was going to have another go. I would definitely go solo on the hill. I think that is probably the style that is in keeping with my own personal preference anyway, and what I've done the vast majority of my other challenges as, and I would definitely go winter. There's no doubt about
that. Crash my soul.
Shane, you'll have to put some more weight on if you're going to go over winter. You've got to build up some fat stores.
That's a very good point. The physique of a climber maybe isn't the best for for the fuel. On fueling, we actually got a question asking, what was your fueling strategy for your FKT attempt, and did it change during the event from your original plans? I guess it's to everybody.
Bridget, why don't you go first, and we'll go
Did you
around.
say feeding as in food or feeling as in emotion?
Fueling.
Oh, fueling.
Feeding.
Do you know, that was one of the easiest ways is you've done so much training, and I've done the Dragon's Back race. You just know what works for you. And I just eat when I think I should eat. I always carry nuts, cashews and almonds, and I always carry cereal bars that I know work. And so this was Shane's help, because Shane was struggling to eat, and I thought, oh, if it's hot and you're struggling to eat, so I actually took on board, I've remembered now, I took on board loads of calories through my energy drinks, so I drank twice as much calories as I usually drink per section, and it was great because I mean eventually your tummy starts rumbling, and if you're caring about it rumbling, I just took another little drink of whatever I had on me at the time. I always use mountain fuel, so I just took a few drinks, and that's shut the tummy up for a little while. So it's just practice makes perfect.
Trish, what about you?
Mine was really bad. I mean, it started off well, but then, as Shane can probably confirm, I think because I was so the time on the hill was so intense, I think that just stopped me eating. The nav, the whole, every bit about it was hard. Every time I went out, it was a real fight. I was fighting every single moment that I was out there, the rain, the wind, the dark, the bog. It was just constant. So I think it's probably just because I had such high adrenaline levels, maybe, or cortisol, that it impacted my ability to feel hungry. I don't actually ever remember feeling hungry, but I must have been hugely deficient in calories because I was barely eating. Fluid, I was still taking on some fluid, but not much, was I, Shane? Not really much at all. So I was eating bits and bobs, but I mean, we're talking like, a few digestive biscuits when I came into the cruise stop, and that it was really quite poor. So yeah, it started off well, but it wasn't particularly great throughout. But again, I also am very good at fat adaptation. I'm a very good fat adapted athlete, so I basically just ate myself. I lost I lost just under 3 kilos of weight on the Winter Dragon, so did a very good job of eating myself, not eating my food.
Do you feel like that affected you post FKT, like in your recovery time, or?
Oh man, afterwards I ate nonstop. I mean, I was eating like 3-4 plus meals a day with snacks in between, everything. Yeah, I gained that. I put on that weight again within about 2 weeks over Christmas. Yeah, I just smashed food like it was
no Christmas strategy.
Yeah.
Christmas strategy. Yeah.
So-
Shane, what about you? You're quite meticulous with this sort of thing.
Yeah, I had a really, really meticulous plan, but I think going back to my experience to that point was mainly in the kind of 24-hour to 100K type realm. And it worked really well for about 24 hours, and I was piling in the food. And then the whole plan unraveled. And I'm not going to go into the whole details of it now because I've spoken about it before. But essentially, the nutrition plan completely unraveled, and I ended up being unable to eat, feeling very nauseated, with a very sore mouth, and reverted more similarly to what Trish was doing, and that was essentially not eating on the hill, and then struggling to get down food when I was at the van, and I was drinking chocolate milk, or chocolate soya milk, because I'm a vegan. That's important to clarify that point. And I was finding I could eat, you get those little mini tins of baked beans for children. I'd have like one of those warmed up with some cashew nuts sprinkled on it, and I would just about be able to kind of swallow it, and it was really sore in my mouth. Then I just wouldn't eat again for hours and hours. So it was a complete disaster, and I would do things very differently if I was going again. If.
Interesting.
100% things to learn from Bridget there. Both of us take a page out of your book there, Bridget, for learning.
Yeah.
Our next question was actually for you, Bridget. Someone has asked, you wrote about having some post-viral fatigue prior to your run. Could you tell us a bit more about that and how you managed it?
That might be
for me.
No, I think that's from Trish.
Yeah.
Okay. Trish, whoever.
Yeah, she had it, but she was so good it made zero difference to her. She didn't even know she had it. There we go.
Sorry, Trish. No
That's
worries.
right. So I had some post-viral fatigue prior to probably about 2 weeks out from Dragons. I'd had a bad ankle sprain, and then just as I was kind of getting back with that, probably about the last 3 weeks before I went on Dragons, I had post-viral fatigue, and it was really flat. I just felt really, really flat. And I remember saying, texting friends and stuff and saying, I'm just don't really have any energy at all. But I just had to trust that to give my body the time. I trusted that if I gave my body the time, it would recover and I would be able to perform. So I just put a lot of faith in that I would perform on the day. I only started running properly again, I would say, a week and a half before I actually set off on the winter FKT. So it was a big risk, and it was I had to really kind of believe that I could do it. But it worked out. And again, maybe a bit of luck as well. But fundamentally, I just had to put faith in that my body would perform on the day, and it did.
Nice.
Can I just jump in there? So I just think there's a lesson for every athlete there, in that it's far better to arrive at the start of whatever your race is, your thing, rested or undertrained than overtrained. And I've certainly done the overtraining mistake in the past. Sorry, back to you, Liv.
No, that's a really good little bit for everybody. You mentioned before about that you lost communication skills, Trish, and then Shane, you were talking about problems with your mouth. I'm sure, Bridget, you had things to overcome. Like, at what point, when these kind of bigger things are happening, especially the losing communication skills, that can be, I don't know if that scared you at the time, if you were just like going through it. Did you ever think about, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this? At what point do you know that it's time to throw the towel in, or do you just always like keep plowing on?
I'm always like, failure is not an option. It's just never an option. If I can't even put that thought in my head, so it's never there. And I've got to say, like, during the whole winter FKT, it was never in my head that I would not make it to Cardiff, and that I would not get outside the van. Like, I don't know, it's just it was so set in my kind of mental state. My mental state was so focused on that. And I think there's other reasons as well. Like, you put, as the guys will like tell you, you put so much time into into the effort. You know, it's hugely taxing on your time. Like, you put so much training in. You know, you give up you know, the best part of a week to go and do the event. You've got to, it's your family, it's your work, it's your every part of your life that it impacts. And also, like, my friends have put in a huge amount of time and effort as well to support me, and 100% they would not have been fussed if I'd have said, look guys, I'm not going to do it, or if I said I'm not going to, I feel like I need to stop. They would have 100% supported that. But it was just never in my head that I could ever stop. Not because I couldn't, because I wasn't going to. Mentally, I was fully 100% committed to what I was doing. And even when it was bad, it was good, I would say. It was still the best day ever.
I think you're right that you've got to be a certain personality to set off from Conway.
Yeah.
And failure is not an option. I did spend, it was in the first few days, I questioned myself, am I where I want to be? And it was always a very firm, yes, I am where I want to be. And yeah, you just never think anything other than next foot forward, next foot forward.
You've got to stay present, haven't you? That's the key to it. It's not about, you know, what's in the future or what's behind. You have to stay present in that moment, right there. What is it you're doing? What is it you're trying to do right then at that time? And if you can stay present, you know, not just even on this FKT, but I think particularly in anything you're doing in life, staying present is hard. It's hard for people to do. And it's a real skill when you can do that. You get much more enjoyment and pleasure from the experience, I think.
I think I had a subtly different experience with Dragon's Back in that I was very concerned. My main concern going into it was that I would let down all my friends because I would get injured and I'd, you know, look a bit silly because I'd have to pull out after 50k because something was sore. And that I was really worried about that, particularly when you've got 32 people coming to support you over 5 days. And then I did have moments where I thought I might not be able to carry on, but they were moments when I felt like I had an injury and I was struggling to find a way through it. And actually I had some brilliant, essentially medical physio care, which helped me get through those moments. I'm normally, I would say, my mindset is similar to Trish's in that failure is not an option. But I think that's tempered a little bit with my kind of background as a climber, where you need that mindset to try hard things, but you also need an off button to know when you are pushing too far. And I recently had to go a winter FKT that can say nameless for now, but I stopped 3+ quarters of the way through it when I felt it wasn't right to carry on. And that's a winter running challenge. So there is an off switch there, but you do have to go into it with absolute belief and confidence that you'll be successful. Otherwise, you're not going to start. Yeah, there's more to probably delve into the psychology of all of that.
Yeah,
I think
that reminds me
actually a next webinar.
You have to be invested, don't you? And if you are 100% invested in what you're doing, that's much easier, isn't it, to stay in that focus zone. And we all know when we, you know, if you toe the line at a race and you're not really quite feeling it, well, you know, that might change. But actually, you know, if you toe the line on something like the Dragon's Back as an FKT, that is mega. You have to be in. You are all in. There's no going back. It's all in.
Yeah, I have to say, you've got to bear in mind the weather on Dragon's Back, because you're on Crib Goch with the spine. It's so like the wind. Rain's not too much of a problem, but you just took me back to when I did my first Bob Graham attempt, and the worst lightning storm came in, and there was me and a lad, and we literally ran off the hill for our lives. And it was we pushed it. He said he felt the hairs standing up on the back of his neck because the lightning was so, you know, the lightning and the noise was straight. Oh, it was terrifying. Yeah. But we pushed it until we really feared for our lives, and then ran. Yeah. I've never descended so quickly.
Maybe that's a good kind of place to kind of start wrapping up, I think. And these webinars are recorded. They go on to YouTube a day or two after. I think, Liv, you're hoping to get it on tomorrow, are you?
Yes, I'll get it up tomorrow.
I know both Bridget and Trish have done some podcasts about their Dragon's Back, and if you want to deep dive into their experiences, I can definitely recommend them.
I've put all of the blogs and links to everything in the chat, as well as we have another webinar actually that's links back to what you guys were talking about with our sports psychologists, and looking at all of those things that you guys are obviously very good at. If anyone is interested, I've put the link there.
Brilliant, brilliant. I would like to just say a very big thank you to Trish and Bridget for giving up their time, sharing their amazing experiences with us. As I said at the beginning, I am really just super impressed by these two amazing women. They're like definitely doing things in ultra running that is carving a new path that other people will follow, and it's just brilliant that it's women doing this as well. I'm totally delighted to be playing a small part in that story. Liv, thank you for your time working from home late on a Wednesday night. I appreciate that a lot.
That's all good. It was really interesting. I mean, I could ask you about a million more questions, but I'll have to catch you guys at are you coming back to volunteer at Dragon's Back, Trish?
I will be 100%. Probably not next year, this year, because although I will be definitely popping in, but probably not for the whole event. But I will be back 100% to join for a future one. Just I should probably have a break this year, just for
absolutely. You've earned it.
Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. It's a bit of a brutal end for our audience that are here. We click end webinar and that's it. So thank you very much, everybody. And I look forward to welcoming people to our first event of the year, Northern Traverse, which is only about a month away, maybe it's 6 weeks away. Yep. Northern Traverse is sold out, Lakes Traverse is sold out, still got a few entries for the Dales and the Moors Traverse. It is a great event, and I am very much looking forward to getting the year kicked off.
Yeah, running across a different country, north of England, instead of going from top to bottom in Wales.
All right.
Thanks
everybody.
Thanks,
Good night.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye.